Did you see that presidential debate? Wow. Well, we're going to talk about it when we get back. I'm CLM II for Style with Power, the channel that helps empower men through style.
Okay.
Well, happy Monday, and we hope everyone out there had a fantastic weekend, as we have had a fantastic weekend. I guess the only issue is that we're hearing that the coronavirus is going up around the country, and we have to be very vigilant out there and make sure that we stay safe, that we wear our mask, right, and that we stay 6 feet of social distancing. So let's get ready for this hard winter that's coming up with this pandemic. But before we get into anything else, if you're into videos that talks about style, talks about fashion, that talks about empowerment, and that talks about mindset, well, this is the channel for you. So don't forget, hit that subscribe button, hit the little notification bell so you know every time we upload a video. And if you're watching this on Facebook, hey, give me a like, give me a thumbs up. We can definitely use your help. Well, the presidential debate this past Thursday. Wow. What's more exciting, the presidential debate or the World Series? I tell you, like I said in my last video last week, I'm a big sports guy, and the World Series has been fantastic. But the presidential debate, so a little more tame. The candidates was able to actually talk a little bit more, with a little bit more substance about what we as the American public need and want to hear. Donald Trump, coming off his 2-week layoff with the coronavirus, was able to come and do this last and final debate as we're down to the wire. We are down to the wire. There are long lines out there. People are trying to vote as early as possible. If you have not voted, I insist you go out there and you vote. Experts claim that this is probably going to be the biggest voter turnout in United States history. Just fantastic. And listen, no matter how long it takes you to stay on those long lines, you must stay there and exercise your right to vote. And, the debate was back and forth. Experts say that Joe Biden won the debate. He was very, very strong. And I think I have a few clips of the debate. So let's just look at a few clips of what was said during the debate.
We have a vaccine that's coming. It's ready. It's going to be announced within weeks, and it's going to be delivered. We have Operation Warp Speed, which is the military is going to distribute the vaccine. I was in the hospital. I had it, and I got better. And now they say I'm immune. Whether it's 4 months or a lifetime, nobody's been able to say that.
What I would do is make sure we have everyone encouraged to wear a mask all the time. I would make sure we move in the direction of rapid testing, investing in rapid testing. I would make sure that we set up national standards as to how to open up schools and open up businesses so they can be safe. He says that we're learning to live with it. People are learning to die with it. You folks home will have an empty chair at the kitchen table this morning. What I would say is I'm going to shut down the virus, not the country. It's his ineptitude that caused the country to have to shut down in large part.
We have the best testing in the world by far. That's why we have so many cases. Someday you're going to have to explain, why did you get 3.5? I never got any money from Russia. I don't get money from Russia.
The foreign countries are paying you a lot. Russia's paying you a lot. China's paying you a lot. And your hotels and all your businesses all around the country, all around the world. And what's he do? He embraces guys like the thugs like in North Korea and the Chinese president and Putin and others, and he pokes his finger in the eye of all of our friends, all of our allies.
I just gave $28 billion to our farmers.
Taxpayers' money.
It's what?
Taxpayers' money. Didn't come from China.
The taxpayer it's called China. Eliminate Obamacare, come up with a brand new, beautiful health care. The Democrats will do it because there'll be tremendous pressure on them, and we might even have the House by that time. And I think we're going to win the House, okay? You'll see, but I think we're going to win the House.
Oh, he's never come up with a plan. I guess we're going to get the pre-existing condition plan the same time we get the infrastructure plan. And the Biden care proposal will, in fact, provide for that affordable health care, lower premiums. What we're going to do is going to cost some money. It's going to cost over $750 billion over 10 years to do it. And they're going to have lower premiums. You can buy into the better plans, the cheaper plans, lower your premiums, deal with unexpected billing, and have your drug prices drop significantly. Being the president, I think health care is not a privilege, it's a right. Everyone should have the right to have affordable health care. These 500-plus kids came with parents. They separated them at the border to make it a disincentive to come to begin with. And this is the first president in the history of the United States of America that anybody seeking asylum has to do it in another country. That's never happened before in America.
We have to send ICE out and Border Patrol out to find them. We would say, come back in 2 years, 3 years, we're going to give you a court case. Yeah. They never come back. Only the really, I hate to say this, but those with the lowest IQ.
The fact of the matter is, there is institutional racism in America. And we have always said, we've never lived up to it, that we hold these truths to be self-evident. All men and women are created equal. But guess what? We have never, ever lived up to it. But we've always constantly been moving the needle further and further to inclusion.
I am the least racist person. I can't even see the audience because it's so dark. But I don't care who's in the audience. I'm the least racist person in this room.
To the oil industry, I'd stop giving them federal subsidies. He won't give federal subsidies to the gas. Excuse me, to solar and wind.
Yeah.
Why are we giving it to oil industry?
We actually do give it to solar and wind. Success is going to bring us together.
I represent all of you, whether you voted for me or against me.
Well, there you have it. Some highlights from the debate. So now it's your turn. It's your turn to make a decision on which candidate would be the best for you. And me personally, I feel that we need a change in the president's office. Who would ever have thought that a reality show star, a man who has written books about how the art of the deal and can't seem to make a deal, would become the president of the United States? But that's what it is to live in the greatest country in the world. We're a free country, and anyone out there is eligible to run for president. And guess what? There are people out there who will vote for them. That's why you see Kanye West is out here talking about he wants to be president. Never know. We don't think that he should be president, but you never know what may happen. So don't forget to get out there and vote. And let's make sure that we all exercise our constitutional right to vote. Well, I don't know how many of you seen this story, but it's incredible. It's about Breonna Taylor, and one of the officers, the officer who actually got shot, Jonathan Mattingly, actually was interviewed about the case, and he had some incredible things to say. I guess for me personally, it's just ridiculous, some of the stuff that he had to say, but you know what? That's just my opinion. Let's see what your opinion is. We got a few clips from that interview.
Her death sparked nationwide outrage and anguish. 26-year-old medical worker Breonna Taylor shot and killed by Louisville police officers shortly after midnight on March 13th while executing a search warrant. Officers investigating a suspected drug operation allegedly linked to her ex-boyfriend. This morning, for the first time, Sergeant Jonathan Mattingly sharing publicly what he says happened that night.
So we get up. I remember banging on the door. It's open hand, hard smacks, bam, 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 bam. First time didn't announce. Just hoping she would come to the door so everything was quiet, neighbors wouldn't come out.
Can you hear anything from inside the apartment?
Not at that point. Okay. Not at that point. So after the first bang, nothing happened. I banged again. I yelled, "Please search warrant, please search warrant." You're yelling this.
How many times do you yell that?
Probably 3 times each with each bang. There was a total of 6 bangs, 6 different knocks at the door while we're doing this.
There were 7 officers on the scene that night. One said he thought he heard movement inside the apartment.
He said, "Stop, I can hear somebody coming up to the door." So we stop, we listen, nobody says anything. We yell again, "Police search warrant, open the door if you're there, police search warrant." And finally I look back at my lieutenant, who's in the stack back here, and he goes, "Go ahead and hit it."
Even as you're hitting the door with the brand, you're yelling?
Yes, everybody at this point.
Everybody?
Because that's what we do.
All 7 of you?
All 7. That I know of. It sounded like it. That's the typical how it goes every time. And that doesn't change.
Kenneth Walker said that he and Breonna were screaming. Who is it? Said they never heard any announcement that it was the police. And what do you say to that?
Maybe he didn't.
But there are also 11 neighbors who said the same thing that he said.
Those 11 neighbors also said we didn't knock. Kenneth Walker says we knocked. The other witness says we knocked. So if you didn't hear us knock, you're not going to hear us announce.
Mattingly says once the team enters the dark apartment, he sees 2 figures in the hallway. How far away from you?
About 20, 25 feet. Probably, 20, 25 feet. And as soon as I turned the corner, my eyes went straight to the barrel of this gun. I could see the tip of it. And my eyes just focused in on it.
Breonna's boyfriend, 27-year-old Kenneth Walker, a legal gun owner, fired a shot. Later telling investigators he fired because he didn't know who was bursting through the door. An FBI ballistics report saying it was Walker's bullet that struck Mattingly.
As soon as I felt the smack on my leg and the heat, I boom, 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 return 4 shots. From start to finish, from the time I got shot till the time I'm on the ground and heard that last volley of shots, 12 seconds total.
Help! Oh my God! Yes, help! What's your name, sir?
Mr. Walker said, "I just fired a warning shot. I thought someone was breaking into my apartment. I was aiming down because I don't want to kill anyone." That was his statement.
He wasn't shooting at the ground a warning shot. He's pushed out with 2 hands, looking straight at me. I saw his gun. Our postures were the same, looking at each other.
How would you have done it differently if you could have?
We would have either served the no-knock warrant or we would have done the normal thing we do, which is 5 to 10 seconds, to not give people time to formulate a plan, not give people time to get their senses so they have an idea of what they're doing. Because if that had happened, I'm telling you, Mike, if that had happened, Breonna Taylor would be alive.
You believe she'd be alive
100%.
if that had happened?
I believe
If you
she'd be
had
alive.
just stormed in?
Yes.
And not given them time? What was your feelings watching all that unfold after this?
Mostly frustration. And the frustration came from our command and from the mayor's office because there was so much disinformation out. Because this is not relatable to a George Floyd. This is nothing like it. It's not an Ahmaud Arbery. It's nothing like it. These are 2 totally different type incidences. It's not a race thing like people want to try to make it to be. This is a point where we were doing our job. We gave too much time. When we go in, I get shot, we return fire. This is not us going hunting somebody down. This is not kneeling on a neck. This is nothing like that. And I know I'm not going to sit here and act like playing the big victim card. But I mean, I was a victim in this as well. My family has been a victim in this. They have had to go in hiding. They have had death threats. When somebody sits back from their mansion and accuses somebody they don't know of being a racist and being a dirty cop and being a murderer, when that's not the case, that does affect you.
You were called racist. Are you racist?
No, not at all.
Do you think there is a racist divide between the community and the LMPD?
I think there are people who stir things up and make it more of that, because when you're dealing with criminal element, you talk about racial profiling. Good police, anyway, police I've worked with don't racial profile. You criminal profile. Let's address the fact that just because you're black, you're a threat. It's not the case. I'm not scared of you.
Well, that's how black men feel. That's how black women feel.
But does that make it real?
If it's how you feel, then it's real.
No, not necessarily.
So what is the difference between criminal profiling and racial profiling?
Criminal profiling is when you get to know an area, okay? When you work in an area long enough, you can tell by people's demeanors. If you pull up beside somebody and they don't make eye contact, they swerve off, there's just different elements of people's psychological game that they put out that you can tell when you've done something long enough.
So basically, it's a feeling.
Not just a feeling. I mean, it's a feeling that goes along with what you've experienced, with what is in the area, what should or shouldn't be. You look at a George Floyd, what happened to him is tragic. It was horrible. Everybody looked at that and said, Wrong, bad, disgusting. And what happens? They end up getting locked up, which in my opinion, and I don't know the ins and outs of the case, and I'm very careful now to judge other people for Monday morning quarterbacking, but in my opinion, that was the right call, whether he died of an overdose or whatever. But what happened after that, in my opinion, George Floyd was not a model citizen.
It's very hard for me to sit here George Floyd died of an open overdose. He died because someone was kneeling on his neck for minutes.
And I agree with that.
And regardless of him being a model citizen or not, he didn't deserve that. No one deserved that.
Nobody said he did.
So
I just demonized it. I said it's horrible.
Well, I mean, what do you think? I just thought that the things that he had to say just did not make sense to me personally. I just know that if anyone, broke into my home and they didn't identify themselves and I had a license for a handgun, the reason why people go out there and they acquire handguns or acquire any type of firearm is to protect themselves. And you break into someone's home and they don't know who you are, you don't identify yourself, you're going to defend yourself. And then to blame the person for defending themselves on the cause of the death of a beautiful young lady who was innocent and was in her own home is just ridiculous. So, I just think that, Mr. Mattingly should just, keep quiet and, don't do any more interviews. Don't try to justify what happened. A terrible, terrible mistake was made. It should have never happened. And someone needs to pay for that mistake, because believe me, if someone was to break into his home and he has a license to carry, I'm quite sure he probably would have tried to defend his home, and he would be up in arms if his wife was laying in bed, and got killed in a terrible, terrible mistake that some officer made. So, so I have a link to that story in the description. You can go and you can read the story, and you can go back and you can look at some of those clips from that story. Well, the last story that I have is we're going to talk a little bit about mindset. I was actually able to go on this fantastic Zoom conference by Black Enterprise. And for those of you who don't know Black Enterprise, it's a magazine that's been out for over 40 years, and it just talks about what blacks are doing in the world of business and entrepreneurship. So it's a fantastic magazine, and every year they give this great conference, and it's called Black Men Excel. Black Men Excel, and they get black men from all around the country who are doing well to do workshops and to talk to other young and up-and-coming black educators, entrepreneurs, business people, to help them excel in their fields. And there was a black CEO of a Fortune 100 company who happened to be talking that's about something that was really, really inspiring. And I wrote it down, of course, in my handy book here. And I thought it was fantastic. I thought it was great. He said something that was very, very funny. He said that the quote of 2020, get this, the quote of 2020 is, "You're on mute." And I guess we've all been there. We've been on these Zoom calls or whatever you're using out there, and constantly you hear, "You're on mute." That's fantastic. But he was just talking about how to elevate yourself, how to become a CEO such as himself, worked for AT&T for many, many years, and he talked about some great things. But one of the things that he mentioned was something called unconscious bias. Unconscious bias. And that's when everyone has this little voice telling them that they won't make it because. Whatever that because is. And he told a great story how there was an office of 4 individuals, an Italian male, an Irish male, a white female, and a black male. And all 4 of them had this little voice in their head thinking that they were not going to succeed in that company. The Italian male said, you know what, I don't believe I'm going to be successful in this company. I don't think I'm going to make it in this company. And he says, why? And he says, because I have a vowel at the end of my name. So this gentleman thought that he was already going to fail because he was Italian and he had a vowel at the end of his name. The Irish guy said, I don't think that I'm going to really be successful in this company. And he says, why? He says, because I'm Irish. So he thought that his culture, his heritage was going to stop him from becoming successful. And of course, the white woman said, I don't think I'm going to be successful in this company. And he asked her why. And she said, because I am a woman. And women just don't do as well in business as men. And of course, the black male thought he wasn't going to be successful in the company because he was a black man. So he went on to tell that story and says that one of the things that you have to do in order to be successful is that you have to tell that little voice in the back of your head that no matter what happens, you're going to fight through it and you're going to be successful because everyone in that room has the same feeling that you have. And everyone finds excuses why they can't be successful. So I say this to you out there, you know what? Whenever that little voice is telling you, stop, don't be foolish, you're never going to make it, you just have to fight through it. Because if you're smart enough and you're good enough, then you will make it. Well, that's it for this week. I hope that was helpful. And guess what, guys? I will see you next week.